Have you ever wondered what it would be like if an AI could learn coding like a human, straight from the textbooks? Well, folks, it's not just a dream anymore. We're talking about a groundbreaking research paper from Microsoft titled "Textbooks Are All You Need." Now, that's a bold title, isn't it? So, what's the big idea here? It's all about a new approach to AI learning, specifically for coding, which uses a revolutionary model called Phi-1. And guess what? This model was trained using textbook quality data. All right, folks, let's dive into the heart of the paper. The title of the paper isn't kidding when it says textbooks are all you need. It's the quality, not the quantity of data, that truly makes a difference. Now, you might ask, how does this differ from previous models? Well, traditional models often use readily available sources of text data for code generation, like Stack Overflow or Code Contest. However, the Phi-1 team went a different route. They argue that such sources aren't the best for teaching the model to think and plan algorithmically. Intriguing, isn't it? So how did they curate their data? Let's see. Standard code datasets are a treasure trove of diverse topics and use cases, but the Phi-1 team observed that these sources could be quite chaotic for AI models. Some samples depend on external modules, making them hard to comprehend without added context. Others are boilerplate code with no real computation, and sometimes the algorithmic logic is lost in poorly documented functions. Not to mention, these datasets can also be skewed towards certain topics. Just like us humans, language models might struggle to learn from these noisy, ambiguous, and incomplete datasets. That's why the Phi-1 team decided to opt for high-quality data that mirrors a good textbook. Clear, self-contained, instructive, and balanced. And the results? Simply spectacular. By intentionally selecting and generating high-quality data, they managed to score state-of-the-art results with less compute and a smaller model than existing approaches. Their training strategy hinged on three main datasets: a filtered code language dataset, a synthetic textbook dataset, and a small synthetic exercises dataset. With less than 7 billion tokens combined, they refer to the mix of filtered code language and synthetic textbook datasets as code textbook. They used it in the pre-training phase to get their base model, Phi-1 base. It's worth noting that this base model already hit a competitive 29% HumanEval performance. But the magic doesn't stop there. With their 180 million token synthetic exercises dataset, known as code exercises, they fine-tuned their Phi-1 base model to give us the superstar, Phi-1. And the transformation was phenomenal. Not only did it improve the model's performance significantly in generating simple Python functions, but it also unlocked exciting emergent capabilities. All right, folks, are you ready to go down the rabbit hole? Let's delve into how the Phi-1 team carefully curated their dataset. It's an ingenious process, I promise. Let's set the scene. They started with publicly available Python code datasets, specifically the Python subset of the Stack and Stack Overflow. These two alone contain over 35 million files or samples. That's more than 35 billion tokens. Mind-boggling, isn't it? But here's where the magic comes in. They used GPT-4 to annotate the quality of a small subset of these files, around 100,000 samples. How, you ask? Well, they presented a code snippet to GPT-4 and asked it to gauge its educational value for a beginner coder. Pretty smart, huh? But they didn't stop there. They used this annotated data to train a random forest classifier, which predicts the quality of a file or sample using its output, embedding from a pre-trained Codagen model. That's right. They've basically trained an AI to determine the quality of data for another AI. And remember how we talked about GPT 3.5 being used for synthetic content generation? Well, GPT-4 was used minimally here, and only for quality annotations on a small subset of the Stack and Stack Overflow samples. It was essentially used to avoid time-consuming human annotation efforts. Now, one of the biggest challenges in creating high-quality data for code generation is ensuring the examples are diverse and non-repetitive. They wanted examples that cover a broad range of coding concepts, skills, scenarios, and vary in difficulty, complexity, and style. It's like trying to create the perfect salad. You want a mix of everything. But here's the catch. Achieving diversity isn't easy, especially when using synthetic data generated by another AI model. It's like asking a robot to paint. Sure, it can do it, but how do you make it creative? They followed an approach to inject randomness into the prompt, stimulating the AI to generate diverse datasets. So, what were the results of this magic trick? Well, we have two datasets. First, the synthetic textbook dataset. It's a compilation of Python textbooks created by GPT 3.5, offering natural language text intermingled with relevant code snippets. And then there's the code exercises dataset, which is like a hardcore coding gym. It's full of Python exercises and solutions. The beauty here is that these exercises help align the AI model to complete functions based on natural language instructions. But what about its performance after fine-tuning on the code exercises dataset? How does it change? You won't believe the improvements. Remember the code exercises dataset? It's all about short Python tasks using only basic Python libraries. But guess what? After fine-tuning on this small dataset, the model showed substantial improvement in executing tasks that are not featured in the fine-tuning dataset. We're talking about intricate algorithmic tasks and using external libraries. It's like the model's brain underwent a complete transformation. Suddenly, it's capable of reorganizing and consolidating the knowledge it acquired during pre-training, even if that knowledge wasn't explicitly present in the code exercises dataset. So, let's do a little comparison between our fine-tuned model Phi-1 and its pre-trained base model Phi-1 base. And folks, the difference is day and night. Phi-1 shows a much higher level of understanding and compliance with instructions after fine-tuning. Now, what's really astounding is that fine-tuning on code exercises also enhances the model's ability to use external libraries such as Pygame and Tkinter, even though these libraries aren't present in the exercises. It's like our model decided to take up extracurricular activities on its own. To give you an example, take a look at this Pygame program that bounces a ball on the screen. Phi-1 successfully applies the Pygame functions to update and draw the ball, as instructed by the prompt, whereas Phi-1 base and Phi-1 small produce function calls that are syntactically correct but semantically irrelevant. Next, we have a Tkinter application where we ask the model to update a text field accordingly when the user clicks buttons. Once again, Phi-1 excels in understanding the task, correctly implementing the GUI and all the functions. Moreover, Phi-1 has even improved its chat capability. It's like our model is evolving to be more human-like in its interactions. Can you believe that? We hear you asking, what if the model is simply memorizing the code exercises data? It's a valid question. To address this concern, our researchers have performed an additional evaluation, focusing on unconventional problems that are unlikely to appear in any training dataset. In order to minimize the chances of bias and leakage, the team designed 50 unique problems, in the same format as HumanEval, but specifically constructed to be unlikely to appear in real-world codebases or coding exercises. A problem, for example, could be to sort, concatenate, square, filter, and remove duplicates from two lists of integers, a complex task that really tests the model's capabilities. GPT-4, the grader in this case, gives a more fine-grained and meaningful signal of the student model's coding capabilities. It gives a short verbal evaluation followed by a grade from 0 to 10. And guess what? Phi-1 outshone competing models in this unconventional problem set too, scoring significantly higher than StarCoder. This, despite the fact that these new problems were designed to be completely outside the training distribution, further bolstering our confidence in Phi-1's performance. Remember, these aren't ordinary problems. They were specifically designed to test the boundaries of these models, to really push them to the limit, and Phi-1 excelled, even in these challenging circumstances. What's more exciting is what this could mean for the future applications of these models. Now, another aspect of our research was data pruning. This is a technique that is especially useful to ensure unbiased performance evaluation. Remember that massive boost in performance we saw in Figure 2.1 when we trained on the code exercises dataset? Our researchers decided to test that further. They pruned the code exercises dataset, removing files that were similar to those in HumanEval. This process of data pruning is a strong form of data decontamination. Even after aggressively pruning more than 40% of the code exercises dataset, Phi-1 still outperformed StarCoder on the HumanEval benchmark. We believe this kind of data pruning experiment is a fair way to evaluate performance, more insightful than standard contamination studies that are usually based on measures of overlap. Our researchers also performed an n-gram overlap analysis to measure the similarity of text segments. This showed minimal letter-by-letter overlap between our dataset and HumanEval, providing further reassurance that the performance boost is not due to contamination. And then we got to the embedding and syntax-based similarity analysis. This type of analysis is more refined than the n-gram analysis, using a combination of embedding and syntax-based distances. The embedding distance was computed based on a pre-trained model, and the syntax-based distance was calculated between the abstract syntax trees of two given code snippets. This complex analysis, even after removing large chunks of data from the code exercise's dataset, yet again showed that Phi-1 was able to outperform competing models. It's incredible how resilient and adaptable Phi-1 has proven to be. What we're learning about the power of Phi-1 goes beyond simple benchmark performance and into the realm of truly adaptable and intelligent modeling. All right, moving on, let's dive into something super cool. You know that figure 2.1 that we chatted about earlier? Yeah, the one where we noticed that training on code exercises just turbocharges the performance of our model on the HumanEval benchmark. For those who aren't familiar, n-gram is a method of measuring the similarity of text segments based on shared word sequences, and this analysis revealed only minimal letter-by-letter overlap with HumanEval. So the big performance boost we're seeing isn't because our dataset is contaminated. All right. Now this is where things get really interesting. We thought the n-gram analysis was cool, but it didn't go far enough in finding similar code snippets. So we brought out the big guns, a combination of embedding and syntax-based distances. We used the L2 distance between the embeddings of the code snippets and calculated the edit distance between the abstract syntax trees of two given code snippets. This way, we could capture code pairs where the overall code semantics are similar and also identify overlapping sections between code pairs. So, what's the takeaway from all this data pruning and similarity analysis stuff? Well, it's that our model, Phi-1, is a rock star. It can perform amazingly even when we make things super hard for it. It's the comeback kid of AI models, you just can't keep it down. And now, folks, it's time to close the book on this exciting adventure of AI, programming, and textbook-quality data. The big takeaway from this Microsoft paper? Just like a well-written textbook is instrumental in mastering a subject, top-notch data can have a significant effect on fine-tuning a language model's proficiency in code generation tasks. Big shout-out to the teams at Microsoft and OpenAI for this enlightening study. But hey, no model is perfect, right? Phi-1 is a Python specialist, which means it's not as versatile as models that can handle multiple languages. It also doesn't have the same level of domain-specific knowledge as some larger models, and it could use a bit more tolerance for stylistic variations or errors in the prompts. But the cool thing here is that none of these limitations are permanent. They can be worked on and improved upon.